Ready. Okay. Now, guys, the last time we started talking about like traveling, yes, and we mentioned some experiences about traveling. So we talk about how to tell anecdotes, right? And then we use the simple past, the past continuous, the past perfect, and even some time expressions for talking about the past. Yes. So we talk about like the use of the in, during, for, from, to time expressions for talking about the past and for telling the different anecdotes, right? This time we continue talking about traveling, but this time we're going to do it from a different perspective. In this case, yes, we're going to be talking about some feelings that normally the people could have when they travel, right? So, for example, the first question that I want to ask you is like, if you lived in another country, where would you live? If you lived in another country, where would you live? Daniel,
I really would like to live in Switzerland. I think it's a beautiful country.
it's not too cold for you? It's not too cold for you?
No, really, I don't think it's so cold, but maybe Swiss could be a good assignment.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Daniel. Very good. What about the others? If you had the opportunity to live in another country, where would you live?
Um, I would like to live in Canada.
Canada. Very good. Any department in specific? Ontario,
No.
just in Canada, whatever.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, vale. Thank you so much. What about the other guys?
I would like to live in Europe, specifically in Italy.
In Italy. Do you have any specific city? Florence, Milan,
No, I really like all the country.
all the country. Okay, very good. Thank you, Emily. John, you were going to say something?
Well, maybe I would like to live in United States or in Canada, but in the English part of the Canada, not Quebec because they speak in French.
Yeah, mostly they speak in French. Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you so much here. So, guys, that was like the first question because in that case, we're going to be making a lot of suppositions, no? All of this class is based on the conception that if we lived in another country, but this is only a hypothetical case because it's not the case in this time, in this moment. We are living in Colombia. Well, most of us are living in Colombia, right? So we are thinking hypothetically if we had the opportunity to live in another country. That's why we use it in past. Not because it's in past, it's because it's an unrealistic situation. No, we said if I lived in any hypothetical case, if I lived in another country, I would like to live in Switzerland. I would like to live in Italy. I would like to live in Canada. I wouldn't like to live in Quebec, right? So on, so on. Now, guys, second question. If you lived in the country that you would like to live, what would you feel the most excited about? What would you feel the most excited about? Probably the culture, probably the language. Daniel.
Well, I think that for my part, the thing that most excite me of Switzerland is the countryland. I really like the countryland of Switzerland, the Alps, and all these things because I really think it's pretty beautiful and I think it really could be a good place to live. The only problem is that it's not so cheap.
Of course, it's one of the most expensive countries in the world, so but of course it's also one of the best quality of life, no? So muy bien, Daniel. Thank you so much. Guys, what about the rest? What would you feel the
Um,
most excited? Vale.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I would like to live in Monaco because one thing that is more excited to me is I would be to go to the Formula One race.
Okay.
Yes.
And that one is special
That's
because they don't have like a specific circuit, but they close the streets to make the street.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, vale. Thank you so much. Good opinion. Any other? Do you have any specific thing that you would feel
Um,
excited about? Emily?
I think I'm not excited. Maybe if the culture or the historic places I really like.
Mm.
The other thing, the language. I really love the accents they have the Italians.
It's very sonorous, the accent, no? They are all the time making hand gestures and yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, Emily, thank you so much. Bueno, and the third question is what could possibly feel or what could you possibly feel worried about? Now, you told me already what you would feel like
Yeah.
excited about. Now, what would you feel worried about in that case? Is there anything that you would feel worried about in that country or nothing?
Probably, teacher, probably I could I could be worried about the weather because most of the year is snowy, so cold. So it's kind of it's excited to meet the snow places and all that stuff, but at the same time, I think I feel worried about it.
It's exciting for the first time, but all the year in the same thing, oh my God. I would also feel a little bit worried about, not because of my health, because our body as Colombians, we are not used to that weather, but okay, John, thank you so much.
Maybe if you're from Bogota, maybe a little bit, but not as I'm from Medellin, so it's a different weather.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and even it's not that different. Imagine if it's a person from Barranquilla or something like that, he could possibly die, right? Okay, very good. Anybody else? What would you possibly feel worried about?
Maybe I will feel worried about leaving my family behind. It's, well, as I said before, being in Switzerland, it's expensive. And if, well, carry only one person to another country is expensive, think in carry more than one person or an entire family. It's complicated.
Especially to Switzerland, where the life is so expensive, right? So if it's expensive to a normal country, imagine to Switzerland, no? But I think that if you find a good job, it's a possibility, right? So of course the salary it's pretty high, so could be also a possibility. Okay, guys. So in this case, we have three questions, all of them based on the situation, on the hypothetical premise that we would live in another country. Every one of you express a different country, Switzerland, Italy, Canada, so on, right? So in this case, guys, that's why the verb is in past, because we said, okay, sorry, this one. If I lived, no? So if I lived in another country, I would feel excited about going to Formula One race, living in the countryside or in the country land of Switzerland, speaking or listening to the Italian accent or visiting historical places, right? But also there are some negative aspects. So when we travel, we can face a lot of different emotions. For example, feeling excited, feeling nostalgic. Wait a second. Excited, you know what is that? Excited, nostalgic, and homesick. What is the meaning of homesick?
Enfermo.
No. I mean, sick, it is enfermo, but homesick,
Like, extrañar.
like nostálgico, especialmente por
Yes.
el hogar, ¿cierto? O sea, es un sinónimo de nostalgic, pero especialmente
Como
por
melancólico.
exactly melancholic, because I miss things of my home, of my hometown. For example, a person who lives in Australia probably feels homesick when he sees empanadas, when he sees chocorramo and ponimalta, those things, no? So he probably would feel homesick. Well, okay, we can also feel confused, scared, and worried. All of them clear. Anxious, curious, offended, clear. Ashamed, amused, and entertained. What's the meaning of ashamed?
Avergonzado.
Yes, exactly. When you feel embarrassed. Amused, on the other hand, it's when you have excitement of something. It's similar to excited, no? It's kind of fun, right? And entertain, it's a synonym of amused, something that produces a good feeling on me, right? So, but those feelings are caused by different things, are caused by places, are caused by actions, are caused by people, depending what I do on the other country. Yeah. So in this case, guys, when we want to describe all of these possibilities or hypothetical scenarios in a travel, we are going to use, wait a second, we're going to use one specific structure, which is like a complementary clause with the verb to be, but also as it's hypothetical, we have to use would, right? So in the first part, we're going to mention what is the thing that we are going to talk about. Is a thing, is a person, is a place, is an activity, right? Then we're going to connect it with I would because, it's hypothetical. And then if I am talking about feelings or sensations, we can use be or feel and then the sensation. One thing I would feel excited about. Y take into account that we normally use preposition because it's por lo que me podría sentir emocionado o por lo que me podría sentir asustado, ¿cierto? Entonces, it's one thing that I would feel scared about. One thing I would feel worried about. One thing I would feel excited by, yes? Or using the prepositions. Prepositions like, for example, by, like, for example, for, like, for example, about, yes? Like, for example, with, yes? All of those prepositions accompany the adjectives in this case. But I can also talk about other actions. For example, the place that I would visit, the thing that I would do, the food that I would eat, the historical place that I would go to, or the place, no sé, the landmark. What is the meaning of landmark? You remember? Landmark?
Like, where is it?
Like,
The point. I don't know.
tell me, Oli, yes,
Yes.
like.
Es estampilla, no sé.
Yes.
Yeah, a landmark is a famous place of one country that is representative of that country, of that place, of that city. For example, if you go to Medellin, I don't know, let's say, what would you consider that it's the landmark? Comuna 13 in this moment? I would say Parque Botero, probably, it's a landmark.
Como una 13 will be.
Exactly, right? Or for example, here in Bogota, which one would you consider that it's a landmark? The people who live here in Bogota. What would you consider that it's our landmark?
The airport.
Monserrate. No sé cómo se dice en inglés.
Monserrate. No, no, Monserrate es Monserrate porque es el nombre propio.
Sí, sí,
Monserrate,
pero
probably. Valeria, what did you say? Sorry.
The airport.
The airport, okay, possibly could be the airport because it's quite famous here in the country. It's one of the most famous airports. Emily, what did you say?
El centro.
See, very good. The Candelaria, the historical place, the historical downtown, and especially, for example, Bolivar's Square, that is a landmark. See, Monserrate is a landmark. Colpatria Tower is a landmark.
It can be Bacata.
Bacata Tower is a landmark. Yes, exactly. Son como los lugares más representativos. So, in that case, for example, I could say that the landmark I would visit is, bueno, depending the place. For example, the landmark I would visit in Italy is the Roman Coliseum. Or the landmark I would visit in Canada are the Niagara Falls, for example, no? So the most representative places. But in this case, we are going to have a lot of flexibility in the sentence, yes? The first part, it's going to mention what I'm talking about. It's a thing, or it's a person, or it's a place, or it's a food, or it's a drink, or it's an action, or an activity, or whatever. I would, and then the action, yes? And then, using the verb to be, we're going to include the answer, no? So, the most famous place I would visit is, and then the answer is Monserrate, is Bacatá, it's Colpatria Tower, it's Comuna 13, yes? But if I am talking about an action, the action is going to be in ing. For example, one thing I would do in Italy is visiting La Toscana. If I have an action here, if it's an action, then that action is going to be with ing. Or if it's only the name of the thing, is just a noun. It's the name of the person or the name of the thing and nothing else. For example, one person I would miss. What is the meaning of miss? Miss?
Extrañar.
Exactly. So if I lived in Europe, one person I would miss may be, no tiene que ser simple is. I can use it with other different forms of the verb to be. Could be, might be, maybe, must be, ¿cierto? Will be, would be. It's a possibility, right? So if I lived in Europe, one person I would miss may be, and then the noun, porque no es una acción, es una persona. So the might be my mom, for example. Yes, it's an example. Or for example, if I use an action, then is where I'm going to use the verb in ing. One thing, but if I lived in Europe, one thing I would do always, or I would always do, is practicing English. Practicing English. Yes, I use the ing because what I am going to do is an action. So that action needs to be transformed into the ing, into the gerund form, okay? Why? Because in this case, it's working as the complement of the sentence. John, pregunta, question.
Teacher, so we can use infinitive.
It's possible, yes, but in this case, as it's a subordinate sentence, it's better to use it shorter, just with the gerund, yes. But yes, it's possible actually to use also like one da da da. It's two blah blah blah, yes. But it would make it even longer. So in this case, it's better. It's just a better idea to use the gerund form after the verb to be, right? But it's possible to use the infinitive, yes, or as long as you use the to.
Okay,
Okay,
teacher.
yes, ready? Listo, guys, very good. So imagine that you are not from Colombia. You are from other different country. Yes, you are from one different country. You are trying to imagine how your life would be if you lived here in Colombia. So if we lived in Colombia. Imagine that you are Americans, or you are Italians, or Swiss, or Europeans, or Russians, or whatever. If we lived in Colombia, then we have different pictures here, no? So we have, for example, this is a feeling. What feeling is this one, according to the face of the man?
Angry?
Angry. And what about this one?
Sad?
Sad, probably nostalgic, probably homesick. Let's say homesick, right? Here it's amused. And also we have some other things, like for example, drinks, right? Food, right?
Hungry?
What also hungry, no? Yeah, of course. Like, oh, special dishes, special dish, a typical dish, yes. Maybe an activity, yes. So guys, thinking that you are not from Colombia, that you live in another different place, thinking how would be your life if you lived here in Colombia. For example, if I were not Colombian, yes, and I visited here and I were here in Colombia living, but I am not from here, one thing I would do might be visiting the Amazon, visiting the Amazon, because that is very exotic. So probably one thing that I would do is visiting the Amazon in my case. But what about you? What would you feel angry about? What would you feel homesick about? What would you eat? What would you drink? What would you do?
Teacher, I will drink a cup of coffee, a good coffee.
Good. But in that case, then that is only the second part. You can do it using like, bueno, if I lived in Colombia, one thing I would drink could be, for example, one thing I would drink could be a good cup of coffee. Uh, or a cup of good coffee, better, no? A good cup of coffee or a good cup of, sorry, coffee, right? So all the sentence complete. One thing I would do, I would drink is all complete. Ready? Muy bien, John. Excellent. What else, guys? What would you do? What would you eat? What would you visit? What?
If I live in Colombia, one thing I would eat, it could be bandeja paisa.
My God. Good, excellent. So, of course, that is something that people never miss. When they go to Medellin, they never miss bandeja paisa. Oh,
Yes,
it's really common, right, John? Have you seen that? The foreigners eating bandeja paisa?
Yes, usually.
Pretty usual. Good. Okay, vale. Thank you so much. That's a great example. What else? Nada.
Um, if I live in Colombia, one thing I would drink must be lulo juice,
In Cali, especially, right? They think that it's great.
right? Yes.
Okay, very good. So one thing that I would drink, or that she would drink, could possibly be lulo juice, no? Which is not very common in other different countries. Muy bien, Sara. Thank you so much. Any other?
One
If
thing.
I will
Oh,
be
sorry.
in Colombia, I will eat a lechona tolimense.
Oof, my God. No, wait, I am getting hungry here. Yes, of course. So one of the things that probably every foreigner should try is lechona tolimense. Yes, that's true. Good, excellent. Muy bien. Daniel, ahora sí, now it's your turn.
Sorry. One thing I would like, I'd really would like to in Colombia, it would be go through all Bogota, visit all the places in Bogota, um, visiting all the all the landmarks and all this kind of stuff. I really like to just travel and see how is the city, the people, the activities, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Okay, Danny. So careful when you said one thing that I would do is going. Remember that if it's ever, it's going to be in ing, going around all Bogota or visiting around all Bogota, right? But in ing, yes. So very good because he likes to know places, visited all the historical places, all the places in Bogota. Okay, muy bien, very good, right? So guys, in this case, for example, this is similar to an activity that you found in the platform, which says that what would you do or what would you miss in case you won a scholarship? What is the meaning of a scholarship?
Beca.
Es una beca.
Una beca, right? So they say, imagine that you won a scholarship to other different country. What would you miss from your country? Yes. So of course I would say I would miss blah blah, but we're going to try to include it, not so direct, but trying to give like a little bit more context to the sentence. Okay, if I won a scholarship, one thing that I would probably miss is the food, the Colombian food, for example. The thing that I would really miss is my family. Or the thing that I would feel nostalgic about is my room at home or something like that, my dog or something like that, right? So that is the idea of this expression. It's presenting hypothetical scenarios about other different things, no? So we are talking about a hypothetical scholarship, and then from that hypothetical scholarship, we have different subtopics that we can extend, no? The emotions, the food, the drinks, the activities, so on, so on, right? Guys, one round more. I would like to know feelings that you would feel or that you would have, of course, living in another country. Now, this time it's more realistic because we are going to imagine how would you feel if you lived in Switzerland, if you lived in Canada, if you live in, So what would you feel nostalgic about? What would you feel confused about? What would you feel scared about? Yes. So think for a second and tell me what of those feelings that you could possibly have in those places.
Mhm. If I would win a scholarship to one country, I I would I don't know. Yes, also the food, our traditions.
But you would what?
Yes.
I would what? I would,
I ay, ¿cómo se decía?
depending the feeling, nostalgic, sad,
Yes, I
fancy.
would nostalgic if because our culture is different than the another countries.
Exactly.
Yes.
So in that case, nostalgic is just the adjective, nostalgic. So you could possibly say, if I want a scholarship in another country, one thing I would remember, be or feel, no? So one thing I would
Yes.
be nostalgic and also preposition, nostalgic about, ¿cierto?
Okay.
Acerca de, yes, so nostalgic about is our traditions, our culture, because they are different, ta, 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 ta. Ahí ya puedes
Yes.
complementar as you did, right? Thank you, Ali. Anybody else?
The thing I will be nostalgic about it was like the family meetings
Hmm,
or the culture about our country, the food. I miss a lot my puppy, and I think that
okay, okay. Muy bien. So in that case, she says, teacher, one thing I would be nostalgic about is, of course, the country's food. Our country's food, ¿no? Yes, en este caso usamos el posesivo porque es la comida de el país, ¿cierto? Entonces, the country's food. And also she says, va a usar otro verbo diferente, que es el verbo miss, ¿cierto? So she said, teacher, and vuelve a empezar, vuelves a empezar. One thing I would really miss is my puppy, ¿cierto? My puppy. Entonces, para incluir
mm,
acá, my puppy, right? ¿Por qué tengo que volver a empezar? Porque es un verbo diferente. En el primero era feel nostalgic about, el segundo era miss. So in that case, there are two different two sentences completely different, right? So one thing that I would really
okay.
miss is my puppy, and one thing I will feel nostalgic about is the country's food. Emily, muy bien, very good. Anybody else?
If I live out of Colombia, like Mexico, probably I will feel lonely or frustrated about the different culture.
Very good, very.
And
The Mexican culture, yes?
yeah, like,
Very different.
yeah.
Okay, so one thing or the thing, la cosa, yes, the thing I would feel probably frustrated about is the culture of the other country, or en este caso, the Mexican culture. Yes, so the thing that I would be or that I would feel frustrated, muy buen adjetivo, frustrated. Cambiamos el color, wait, frustrated. Frustrated about, yes, is the country, the other country's culture, yes, or the Mexican culture specifically. So, bueno, guys and girls, muy bien, very good. So in that case, that is the idea of this structure. It's just providing hypothetical details about hypothetical situations. Yes, the hypothetical situation is we living in another country, and then from that specific topic, we can mention other different ideas, right? Well, also when we talk about this kind of things hypothetical, we are going to have the or the necessity to include the future. Ready? The future can be included in three different ways. The most common one is will and the basic form of the verb, which is future simple. In that case, when I use future simple, what I want to use or to describe is that something will happen in a specific point of the future. Bueno, that something will possibly happen in a specific point of the future. Example, I think, probably I'll visit, okay, let's say Greece in 2028. So a specific point in the future, 2028. And I mentioned a possible prediction. It's a possibility. Probably I will visit Greece in 2028. That's the future simple, will and the verb infinite. Yes, but that is not the only one. That is the most common one, but it's not the only one. Also, in addition, we have the future continuous. Future continuous is will, be, and then the verb in ing. It's an action that in a specific point in the future I will be doing, but the action started before and the action will finish later on that point. Usually used for longer expressions, sorry, longer actions, like for example, live, travel, work, study, actions that will be a process, okay? Such as study. Yes, so let's say like maybe in 3 years, 2028, ¿cierto? It's the same point, 2028. Maybe in 3 years, I'll be studying my PhD. Why future continues? Because study a PhD is a process of 5 years. It's not a short action. It's a process of 5 years. So when the action is long, I am going to have the possibility to use future continuous. Will, be, and the verb in gerund, so in ing at the end. I will be doing that action. Yes, I will be living, I will be working, I will be studying, I will be traveling, I will be practicing, I will be perfecting, I will be learning. Something that it's a process, an action that it's, okay? And finally, we also have the possibility to make predictions with the future perfect. The future perfect is totally different from the other two. In the future perfect, we are going to have a time, a point in the time, but that point in the time is the limit. The action that I am going to predict is not going to happen in that moment, but it's going to happen before that moment. This is the limit of time. So when I say, for example, that I think that by 2028, in this case, I don't say in 2028 porque no es en ese año, sino es para ese año, ¿cierto? By 2028, I will have visited France. I haven't done it yet, yes, but I think that from now, 2025 until 2028, I don't know specifically when, but I am sure that by 2028, I will have visited France. ¿Cuándo? Maybe in the 2026, 2027, I am not sure, but I am sure that I will have visited France. O sea, habré visitado. Yes, will have visited France before 2020. Entonces, in that case, guys, the future is not only will. I mean, it's will, but it can be divided in future simple, future continuous, and future perfect, depending on my intention. John.
Teacher, so always in the last one, you will use the verb will plus have plus a past verb,
Past participle of the verb.
past participle, yeah, past participle. Okay, okay.
Exactly. Have in this case is not going to change to has. Never. Because it's after will. Will is a modal verb. So have is always going to be have. Doesn't matter if it's I will have, she will have,
Yeah.
we will have. It's have for all the pronouns in this case, right?
Will have is like habré. Yeah.
Exactly. Habré, habremos, habrás. Anyway. Right?
Okay, thanks.
Exactly like that. Bueno, guys, so in this case, for example, these futures can allow me to make predictions about my trips, no? So we already talked about hypothetical cases that okay, the thing that I would feel nostalgic about could be my room at home, for example. Why? Because the next year I will travel to, I don't know, I will travel to United States, or I will travel to Argentina, or I will live in Argentina. So I am making a prediction. Yes. I can make a prediction as I please, como yo quiera, right? So in 3 years, I will be working for an Indian company. So if I lived in India, the thing that I would feel more angry about is the food, for example, right? So in that case, I can combine the predictions with those hypothetical situations in order to make a complete description about the future, hypothetical or possible as it is. I can include it with will and also with the expressions with would. Okay, ready? Guys, hasta aquí, hasta este momento, questions, difficulties, or problems?
I have a question.
Tamisa.
Uh, the last one can be used like a goal,
Like what, sorry? Can be used as?
like a goal, una meta.
Ah, like goal, of course, claro que sí. De hecho, este mismo futuro lo vemos en la última semana de este nivel como metas, Sara. ¿Ready?
Okay.
Pero sí, es exactamente la misma estructura porque es algo que esperas haber hecho para cierto momento del futuro. Para el final del año, something like that, esperas haber finalizado algo. So, also muy bien as a goal. Ready? Ujú. Yes. Bueno, guys, so that part of the hypothetical case of the trip is fine. Now, we're going to be talking about something more realistic. And it's necessary because if we are making all of these predictions, yes, it's very certain that we're going to have to talk about costumes and habits in the place where we go, right? In this case, we're going to have expressions with to, which somebody was asking a minute ago. Expressions with to. Then remember that when we have expressions with to, the verb that we have afterwards is usually in infinitive. 99% of the times the verb is in infinitive. There are a couple of exceptions, but usually, almost always when we have to, there is a verb which is in the infinitive form. Now, in this case, we're going to use expressions with verb to be in order to describe what is common or what is typical in one place or what is not typical, depending. If I am talking about the situation, yes, or if I am talking about common behaviors or common expectations about people, right? So when I mention what it's typical in a place, when I want to describe a situation that it's typical, I can say, for example, that it is the custom to, it is acceptable to, it is typical to, it is common to, right? Then the adjective that I want is acceptable, it is the custom, it is typical, it is customary to, so on, so on. And then the action. For example, in Colombia, it is the custom, no, it is not the custom, but it is acceptable to arrive late. It is acceptable to arrive 20 minutes late. No, the people normally do that. And the other person normally accepts. Yes, like it's expected that to happen. So in that case, it is the custom to, or it is normal to, or it is common to, when we talk about the situation. But if we talk about what the people expect from other people or from specific subjects, then we're going to be using are and then supposed to or expected to. It's like what is normal that the people do in different situations. For example, wait a second. For example, when we talk about the first date, Emily, Vale, Valeria, Sarah, what are men expected to do? What is the expectation of the women on the first date? Are we expected to invite? Are we expected to pick you up? What are we expected to do?
The man is expected to pay for the date and to invite.
Okay, so according to Valeria, the men are expected to pay, first to make the invitation and second to pay for the date, yes? Mhm. Emily, Vale, do you have another possibility? Sarah, another option, another opinion? No, nothing. No opinions.
Oh, men are expected to invite the girl first.
It's pretty common. Here in Colombia, at
Yes.
least, it's pretty common that the man invites first the girl, no? So the men are expected to invite first or to make an invitation, make a move first. Muy bien, very good, right? Guys, what about the other side? What are women expected to do in the first date? Or what are they supposed to do in the first date? Any expectations that we have about them?
I suppose that mm, have good clothes. I suppose.
Good. Yeah. So I think that the women are expected to, or yes, are expected to spend a lot of time like getting ready for the first date, no? Because they want to look really pretty. So they are expected to look really good, no? That's the most common thing to happen, right? So, but in that case, because we're talking about the specific people, so the men or the women are expected to. If it's in general a situation, then we can use better it's, ¿cierto? It's common to have lunch for the first date. It's common to go to a shopping center for the first date. No, it's the custom to go to a public place for the first date. No, it is not acceptable. Oh, no, it is not the custom to go to cinema in the first date because then you cannot speak to the person. No, so it's not the custom. If we are going to include a negative sentence, we say, but for saying like that is not the idea. We just have to include it after the verb to be. It is not the custom. It is not acceptable. You are not supposed to, or you are not expected to, right? So in Colombia, for example, people are not expected to, let's say, to arrive early. No, we are not expected to arrive early because we usually arrive late. So in my case, I'm very punctual, but I try. Some people are not expected to arrive on time. No, you said, that person is always late. So people usually are not expected to arrive on time. No, or in Europe, you are not supposed to invite the personal space of the people, right? They are kind of closed. So you are not supposed to invite personal space of people. Mm. Or, for example, here in Colombia, you are not supposed to be mean. What is the meaning of be mean?
Like mad. Like, yes.
Yeah, or like odioso, like rude, no? So you are not expected or you are not supposed to be mean to the foreigners. Different, for example, in France, that they are, or it's acceptable to be rude to the foreigners, no? So they are not so friendly with tourists. So in that case, for them, not for us, for them, it's acceptable to be a little bit rude with the foreigners, no, a little bit closed to the tourist, right? So in that case, depends if I am talking about the situation in general or if I am talking about like a specific subject expectation. Then I can use it is and then the adjective. It is the common. Sorry, it is the custom. It is common. It is normal. It is acceptable. Or on contrary, it is not acceptable, it is not the custom, it is not normal, yes? Or if we are talking about people, you are expected to, you are supposed to, you are like, you're not expected and supposed to, those are the two things. So for describing what it normally happens, right? Because of course, we can mention like the habits or the customs or the stereotypes in one place. Listo, guys? Questions with these expressions or are they clear?
Clear.
They're clear.
Kind of simple, right? Okay, guys, so if everything is clear here, we're gonna go directly into the last into the last activity. Ready? It's just a simple question. Guys, by the time you get old, 50, 60 years old, what country will you have visited for sure? That you said, I cannot die without visiting this country. What country will you have visited for sure? Daniel.
I hope had visited the United States of America because I already have a friend who lives there, so I really would like to go to visit him.
Visit him.
Visit him. Sorry.
Exactly. No, no, Frank. Okay. Exactly. So it is, I hope the future perfect is not sure, it's not certain. So he said, it's a possibility. I hope I will have travel, I will have visited a United States because he has some friends, no? And Danny, follow-up question. If you went to United States, what would you be the most excited about?
Well, my friend lives in New York, so I don't think I really would like a lot the food, because he said that it's a bit bad. So, well, but one thing that he said is good about New York, it's Central Park. He
Okay.
said that it's a place pretty beautiful, that it's good to walk and all the things. So I think that I would like to visit Central Park.
Great, very good. So, as he said at the beginning, the thing that, or the place that I would visit, or the thing that I would be most excited about is Central Park. Or, of course, visiting Central Park if you want to mention the action. Muy bien, Daniel. Thank you so much. Anybody else? So, what is the country that you will have visited for sure before you die?
Teacher, I think I will have visited Canada. It's like a goal, maybe.
Mhm.
Uh, I want I wanna go there, so I expected to go there maybe to the these 5 years ago.
In the
I
next
don't
five
know.
years?
In the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years. Okay, very good. And John, question. What is the costume that you, or what are those costumes that you like most of Canada? I mean, because it's common to have a good quality life, or because you are expected to be respectful, or what is the costume that you like so much about that country?
Maybe they have a costume about in terms of food. They eat a lot of pancakes with real syrup. You know, not is not the kind of syrup that we taste here is different.
Because they have the real
So
trees, they have the real
they
maple
have
trees.
the real trees, you. So I have, I want to go there that to taste the
Okay.
taste maybe from the tree. I don't know.
Why not? Probably before processing. Okay. Good. So it is customary to eat pancakes with real syrup, maple syrup, Muy bien. Excellent. Anybody else?
The country I visit, of course, it's Italy,
Mhm.
and I really like it because the country is very like peaceful, calm. The food I really like to eat the pasta italiana.
Hmm. Italian pasta, yes.
With, yes,
Muy bien, very good. So Emily says, dale, Emily, question.
no, yeah,
Muy bien. So the foods I love or I would like to eat is or will be or could be or might be, ¿cierto? Italian pasta, following the structure. Ya, y would be Italian pasta, right? Sé que es una oración un poquito larga, pero es un poquito más contextualizada que simplemente decir como I really love the Italian pasta. En este caso, toda esta oración, o sea, todo seguir la estructura del would y luego el verb to be, ¿sí? Me hace crear una oración subordinada. Es decir, en realidad son tres ideas conectadas, donde lo que hago es contextualizar que en un caso hipotético, lo que me gustaría es lo que me gustaría comer es esto, lo que me gustaría hacer es esto, lo que haría de primeras es esto, lo que me haría sentir triste es esto, ¿es? O sería esto, dependiendo cómo ustedes usen el verb to be. ¿Listo? Entonces, esa estructura de la que vimos al inicio, ¿sí? La oración subordinada, pues me va a permitir incluir un contexto mucho más rico sobre el caso hipotético. Ya obviamente tengo los futuros, para, digamos, describir pues las posibles predicciones, ya sea qué estaré haciendo o qué habré hecho o qué haré, ¿cierto? Y lo último, pues ya es por qué, ok, listo, es que en ese país es típico hacer esto, o se espera que la gente haga tal cosa, o se espera que el turista haga tal otra, ¿cierto? Entonces, es un compendio de todas las cosas de que hemos visto esta semana, del pasado, del futuro, de las predicciones, simplemente para tener un rango de herramientas mucho más amplio para poder hablar de, en este caso, viajes, ¿cierto? A dónde me gustaría ir, a dónde voy a ir, a dónde posiblemente habré ido antes de que me muera, cómo es allá, qué es lo típico, qué no es típico, si ya fui, entonces qué me pasó o qué me había pasado antes. Entonces, es un rango muy grande de herramientas para poder hablar de un solo tema. ¿Listo? Guys, any question,
Okay.
Emily? Questions?
No, thank you.
No? Listo, muy bien. Guys, anybody else? Questions, problems, difficulties, anything clear?
All clear.
All goody good? Great. Okay, guys, so for this week, that's it. We had two classes, marvelous classes. Next week, we are going to have only one class. It's the week of the class number four. Oh, sorry, it's the class of the week number four. Ready? And it's going to be offered for Thursday, 8 p.m. Right? It's only one class, week number four, Thursday, 8 p.m. If you want to program with me, of course, I will be pleased to receive in class. I am going to activate the class reserving in probably in 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to activate the class. So be ready to separate your space on that class. Thursday, 8 p.m., the class of the week number four. Or if not, you can, of course, check availability with the other teachers in the case that you want, okay? Guys, thank you so much for the participation. I really like it when you come so many people to my classes. So thank you so much for the participation. See you the next week and have a wonderful weekend, okay?